Here we go. Let's listen. This is the hearing that took place moments ago. The judge issuing his ruling saying some of the evidence is going to stay in. Some of the evidence is going to be suppressed in the state trial against Luigi Mangione, who is accused of killing a United Healthcare CEO in December of 2024. Here you can see this is when some of the, I believe, the attorneys for both of the sides started to come into the courtroom. They initially, our understanding is they started to get the decisions themselves. They were reading it on their phones and on their laptops before it was made public. There you see Luigi Mangione entering the courtroom as well. Of course, he has been in custody ever since he was arrested in December of 2024, discovered at that McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And key to all of these hearings was what unfolded at that McDonald's. Let's listen in for a moment here.
So both parties should have received a copy of the decision this morning, which grants the defendant's motion in part and denies it in part, and which lays out the findings of fact and conclusions of law. So I'm just going to give a brief summary of the conclusions. So as to the map issues, I find that the search of the backpack at the McDonald's was improper, warrantless search, that the backpack was not within the immediate control or grabbable area of the defendant, and further, the people failed to demonstrate exigent circumstances. Therefore, those items found in the backpack during the search at the McDonald's will be suppressed. However, the people have established that the subsequent search of the backpack at the station was a valid inventory search, and therefore, the items recovered at the station will not be suppressed. So as to the Huntley issue, I find that the defendant was not in custody until about 9:47 a.m. So any statements before that will not be suppressed. However, as Miranda warnings were not given until some seconds after 9:48 in the morning, those statements made shortly before that in response to improper custodial questions that were not merely a request for pedigree information will be suppressed. The remaining statements will not be suppressed as they were either spontaneous or a request for pedigree or safety-related questions. So those statements will be permitted. So can you guys come up for a second? Well, come on up first. It's just about jury selection. It's just about jury selection.
No, I understand. I think with the 250-10 issue, we have to resolve. We need to know this by June 1st. We can't have our expert.
All right, you are listening into a hearing that took place moments ago here in New York, a judge issuing an important ruling when it comes to the evidence in the state criminal case against Luigi Mangione, basically saying some of the key evidence found in his backpack will be allowed at trial, but some of it will be suppressed. Our senior national correspondent, Stephanie Gosk, is there in New York outside the courtroom. Joins us with more. Steph, we were discussing earlier how many legal experts, including our own Danny Savalos here, did not expect this ruling to happen. They thought the prosecution would maybe get a clean win here. This is no doubt a partial win for the defense. Walk us through what happened here and some of the reaction you're seeing, maybe not necessarily hearing, but actually seeing play out in the courtroom there.
Yeah. Sure, Joe. You know, the most significant thing here is that the alleged murder weapon, the silencer, and the notebook will be part of the trial that's scheduled to take place and start on September 8th. And why is that significant? The notebook, according to prosecutors, is where they say Luigi Mangione laid out his plan to murder Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. Obviously, the alleged murder weapon and the silencer, we've all seen that video from the night of the murder where you can actually see that silencer in the video. These were really key pieces of evidence and something that we were watching very closely. But to get into the nitty-gritty a little bit about this decision, as you say, it is a partial victory for the defense. And why is that? And that is because one of the arguments they were making is that his backpack, when it was searched by police, that was a warrantless search, that it was out of his hands, and by law, they could not search it for concerns of their safety. The judge did not believe that there was any threat of a bomb, or that they thought there might be a threat of a bomb, which was one of the arguments that the prosecution had been making. But they only pulled out some of the items out of the backpack. They only pulled out some ammunition, a passport, a cell phone. The rest of it was taken back to the station, a second search of the backpack. Now, the defense tried to argue that that, too, was a warrantless search and a violation of Luigi Mangione's constitutional rights. But the judge disagreed and said that that was a legal search, that the items inside the backpack were cataloged following the law, and those items will be introduced and used in trial. So it is definitely a mixed verdict here, not the total win that the defense was looking for. But yes, a bit surprising that a lot of legal experts were saying they were going to lose the argument completely across the board, Joe.
Steph, we're keeping an eye on Luigi Mangione as he was listening to the judge lay out the explanation for this decision. As far as we could tell, did he have much of a reaction? It didn't appear so from my viewpoint.
No, not much. And that's kind of the way he has been. That was his demeanor throughout the pretrial hearing, which lasted over the course of about 3 weeks, coming pretty calm, very rarely showing much emotion at all, Joe.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.